Okay, so this is The Jungle. This is a book I read for AP Lang. Uh, what are your? I'm going to ask you a few quotes on the book, and I want to hear your thoughts about them.
All right, be glad to.
Okay. So this quote is found on page 100, and it states, quote, "From all of these things, Jurgis was saved because of Ona. He never would take but the one drink at noontime. And so he got the reputation of being a surly fellow, and was not quite welcome at the saloons, and had to drift about from one to another." So this quote represents Jurgis's love for Ona and his passion he had for working for his family. And despite all of the inconvenience and going to work every day and, the terrible weather and the snow, he was able and willing to overlook all these difficulties because his goal was to raise his family and keep him safe, and he was willing to undergo all those difficult conditions to do so. However, as the story progresses, Jurgis will eventually change his view. And so Jurgis avoided the saloons and drinking because he wanted to save his money for his family. And personal pleasure for him was a secondary cause. His family was kept first. So, but this eventually changes in the story. What's your thoughts?
So I think that this is a good start for Jurgis because it's very important to, strive to do whatever you can for your family and do whatever you can for your wife and your kids because you want them to have a successful future. Also, Jurgis should not be drinking. He should keep himself, sober so he can produce the best work, most efficient work for his family.
Yes. Okay, the second quote that I chose from the second part of the book was, "They had dreamed of freedom, of a chance to look about them and learn something, to be decent and clean, to see their child grow up to be strong, and now it was all gone. It would never be." This quote is a golden moment because it basically it identifies the fact that Jurgis and his family had been defeated. Despite their best attempts to, have their entire family labor, they were not able to make enough money to pay for the house. And eventually their house will get taken away. Basically, the American dream was not fulfilled, despite the fact that nearly all of them are working really hard. And then this just shows you that there's a lot of corruption within the American system. If these immigrants were unable to achieve the American dream, then clearly there needs to be some kind of reform so that the system becomes one that is fair to all of its people. This is where Sinclair really starts to build up the argument against capitalism. What are your thoughts about this?
So I think Jurgis is right. These factory workers deserve very good pay. They've been getting sick. They've been, some of them have been losing their arms and legs in the factory. Poor working conditions. They deserve at least some sort of improvement in the conditions. They deserve, more pay. They deserve a clean factory to work in and not a one that is unsanitary. Jurgis is right in his complaints, and I think him and his family and many other factory workers across the country deserve a better opportunity to succeed and thrive and prosper.
The third quote I have from the third part of the book states, "And Jurgis was a man whose souls had been murdered, who had made terms with the degradations and despair, and now, suddenly, in one awful convulsion, the black and hideous fact was made plain to him." This was found on page 367. So this quote basically signals the full transformation of Jurgis into a hardcore socialist. After first coming to America as a motivated immigrant to make a better living, now he realized that no matter how hard he labored, no matter how much motivation he put in himself, even for his family, he could not achieve the American dream. And thus, he had to resort to another system to attain wealth and, better his life. And this was the socialist system. This is what the book was building up. This was what the book was trying to build up to. It wanted to demonstrate that the capitalist system had a lot of flaws and that socialism was in fact the true solution for the society's woes. Although this may not be, like, to some might not think that this is exactly correct, but this book makes the argument that indeed socialism may be able to solve some of society's problems at the time.
So I believe that it's sad for Jurgis to lose all his family members, and that sometimes when you lose a family member, it's hard to keep in control. So you're gonna want, many people around this countries today still believe that socialism is the ideal economic system.
Thanks for your thoughts. Just to reiterate, the 3 golden moments can be found on page 100, 165, and 367.